So your pet rat died. First, it's sad because Mr. Cheese died. Then it's inconvenient because you can't access Mr. Cheese's bank account. Then it's expensive because you have to hire a communicator with the dead who can commune with Mr. Cheese's spirit and ask what's his bank password. And then it's enraging because Mr. Cheese tells you his bank password was cheese. Maybe you should have trained as an Animist, a mysterious spellcaster who can communicate with spirits and use their powers. They use medium armor, their key attribute is wisdom, and while they're prepared divine spellcasters, they also have spontaneous spellcasting spirits. And these spirits aren't necessarily dead people, they could be anything, like nature spirits. But we already have a prepared divine spellcaster, and we have a spontaneous divine spellcaster, so what is the point of an Animist? In general, each spellcaster in Pathfinder can be sorted by two parameters. First, their magic tradition, if they're a divine, arcane, occult, or primal spellcaster, but the classification that's generally more rigid is if they're a prepared or spontaneous spellcaster. Prepared spellcasters are ordinary people who live in a world of magic and use their intelligence, studiousness, or dedication to master magic powers. Like a wizard, a prepared spellcaster has a list of spells, and every morning they can prepare spells from this list to keep in their memory, like bullets, and they can fire any of their prepared spells throughout the day in the exact way that they were prepared, but then they're gone until they prepare them the next day. But a spontaneous spellcaster is someone who's magical innately. A spontaneous spellcaster has a spell repertoire, which is kind of like the spells that represent the character's superpowers. Spell slots are the juice in a battery, which can be used for any of the spells in the character's repertoire. An Animist is like two halves of a character. On one half, they're an ordinary, prepared divine spellcaster. If you look at the Animist spell progression table, the first number is their prepared spell slots. They also don't get that many skills, and no focus spells. But the other half of their character is filled in with their apparitions, ghostly spirit companions, and that half has a spell repertoire. And these spontaneous spell slots are the second number on the spell progression table. Every day, an Animist chooses two apparitions to attune to. These apparitions follow the Animist around all day and are generally their buddies. Each apparition comes with its own preset spell list, and the Animist's spell repertoire on their spontaneous half is filled up with the spells of these apparitions. An Animist chooses their apparitions every morning, so each day they can swap out these spirits to customize their spontaneous half, in addition to choosing the spells from their divine spell list. The fun part is that these apparitions might come with spells from any of the four tradition. It's curated specifically for a certain theme. These apparitions also provide training in two lore skills, which the Animist is trained in as long as they choose to attune to that apparition. The Animist chooses one of their two attuned apparitions as their primary apparition, which grants them a special focus spell called a vessel spell. These vessel spells are powerful. You can cast them as one action and usually sustain their effect over multiple rounds, so you can often have one active, although you can only have one cast or sustained per round. Their primary apparition can be swapped during a refocus. Apparition number 1 is the Steward of Stone and Fire, a volcano fire-loving angry spirit who can hold a grudge. Grants mountain and volcano lore and spells like ignition and interposing earth. The vessel spell is Earth's Bile, which lets you blast areas within 30 feet with fire and rock exploding from the ground every round. Then if you like laughing at people who get hurt, you might attune to the Reveler in Lost Glee, trained in circus lore and fortune-telling lore. This twisted apparition knows prestidigitation and dizzying colors. The Trickster's Mirror Vessel spell lets you slowly create a funhouse of distorted mirrors, making enemies accidentally target them instead of you. Who needs adventure when you could spend your afternoon peacefully tending a garden? It's a custodian of garden and groves. This apparition is trained in farming and herbalism lore and can provide spells like Tanglevine and Protector Tree. They can create a 10-foot Garden of Healing Vessel spell to heal creatures inside it, as long as you sustain the spell. Are you an introverted gossip lover who likes making people uncomfortable? It's the Imposter in Hidden Places. They're trained in fortune-telling and underworld lore and can provide spells like Telekinetic Hand and Ill Omen. Create a 5-foot emanation of discomforting whispers, forcing creatures inside it to make a will save or roll twice and take the worst roll if they strike. The hard-working and proficient crafter who gets super jealous. It's the Crafter in the Vault. They're trained in engineering and architecture lore, and they'll offer you spells like Sigil and Mending, and can guide you through complex crafting and thievery tasks while supplying you with all the magical tools you need with the vessel spell Traveling Workshop. Just make sure you stay attuned with them until you use your crafted items, or else they'll get pissed. The Witness to Ancient Battles, the somber and grim warrior of old, who is trained in battlegrounds and heraldry lore and grants spells like Shield and Sure Strike. Let your apparition puppeteer your movements with Embodiment of Battle Vessel spell, giving you proficiency with martial weapons as long as you sustain it, a +1 to fighting, -2 to spells, and the ability to use Reactive Strike. Did you mess around with time travel too much, accidentally changing history so you never met your husband and now your daughter doesn't exist? Somebody did, and now their daughter exists as the echo of lost memories, and they're looking for somebody with their together. They're trained in fortune-telling lore and genealogy lore and know spells like Figment and Deja Vu. Spend an action to store time and gain an extra reaction that round. The Vanguard of Roaring Waters, who loves rivers and water and causing chaos. They grant mountain and river lore spells like Rousing Splash and Hydraulic Push, and their vessel spell, River Carving Mountains, turns you into a really fast water pillar with cover, and you can run around really fast and create a river. Granting training in forest and hunting lore, the Stalker in Darkened Burrows. They know spells like Gouging Claw and Runic Body, and grants you the vessel spell Darkened Forest Floor for using pest form, like turning into a black cat to slink away. Joining us from the dark depths of the ocean floor is the Lurker in Devouring Dark. Offering ocean and sailing lore, this apparition provides spells like Caustic Blast and Grim Tendrils. Transform yourself into a tentacled beast with Devouring Dark form and grapple creatures from a 10-foot distance. Is your favorite part of nursery rhymes the weird rules and strange etiquette? Then you might be interested in the Monarch of the Fey Courts. Trained in art and Fey lore, this apparition grants spells like Tanglevine and Charm, and the vessel spell Nymph's Grace gives you a beautiful mask that confuses all enemies within 10 feet. Eventually, at level 7 and 15, you get a 3rd and 4th apparition as well, and at level 19, you can cast Avatar, which normally turns you into a huge avatar with deity powers, but instead you get custom enhanced versions of each apparition you can turn into. An Animist's Animist practice grants special abilities, but the ability at level 1 is mainly just a free class feat. A Liturgist gets Circle of Spirits, which lets you spend one action to switch which apparition is your primary apparition, so you can change out your vessel spell mid-combat. A Medium gets Relinquish Control. You pick an apparition which you permanently attune to, but then they can take over your body for a turn for free, giving you a +4 against things trying to control you, but limiting your actions. A Seer gets Apparition Sense, which lets you smell ghosts. A Shaman gets Spirit Familiar, which lets them manifest one of their apparitions as a familiar with the spirit trait. And then they go around with their spirit friends. In conclusion, an Animist is a prepared divine spellcaster that selects 2 apparitions per day that provide spontaneous spellcasting. Their primary apparition gives them a vessel spell which they can sustain for constant persistent effects. The apparition! Thank you, Paizo, for my complimentary copy.